Hello, test, test. 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
Hey, yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, hello everyone. Good morning. Welcome to our webinar podcast. We are on Techtonic Shifts, a conversation about the future of data, tech, and insights. And very pleased to welcome you all to another of our sessions, monthly sessions, and excited to discuss the future of data and insights with another set of guests, and we'll get on to more of that in a bit. We are Generation1.ca, a platform that's focused on newcomers to Canada and North America, and are a visibility and a branding tool that's focused on elevating the experience of these movers and arrivals in the workplace and society, and improving their cultural integration and experience. We know that over near a quarter of our community, near a quarter of those who are in Canada were born overseas, and it's a little lesser in the US percentage-wise, but the population is more, and the struggles are similar around integration. And as a data leader, I value very much the opportunity to be able to use this platform to attract more talent to the sector, and to get people excited about insights, data, analytics, technology, and improve pathways to their careers. My name is Arundati. I'm the founder and CEO of Generation1.ca, and I also teach at various academic institutions, including Humber College, University of Humber Guelph, research, analytics, insights related subjects, and more in the business streams. And excited to bring you here and bring our community together with another interesting webinar on technology. And technology is important to our community and our audiences because we index really high on tech fluency, on digital adoption and digital awareness, and excitement towards these new trends that are happening in this space. And as there was a saying that technology can be used as both, you can use a broom to, and you know what a broom is, you can use a broom to sweep the floor, or you can use it to hit someone with the head. But I would like to say that, you can also use it to sit in it and fly like a witch. And that's what my guests here today are going to tell us about a bit of their perspective on technology. And I also hope to improve some knowledge of skills and opportunities in terms of all levels of researchers, and how we can use technology to help businesses and organizations, and also importantly, our community in this professional and workforce integration. And we have both community members from all levels of from all disciplines, and a lot of different business divisions, whether it's especially a lot of STEM fields represented, but who are very curious and excited about how they can apply their STEM abilities to the social sciences, marketing, research, and data. So let me get into introducing our guests as well for today. We have with me Rafael Mangra and Dan Jackson, who they will introduce themselves. So why don't you both tell me, hi Dan, hi Raf, why don't you both tell me and tell our audience members, who are you and what brought you to Toronto technology and global research?
Sure. Hi, Arundati. Thanks for having us here today. It's great to be here. So I'm the founder and CEO of Q5 Solutions, a SaaS survey and insights platform. I actually came to Canada in 2005 as an international student, and then I did programming at Sheridan College, and that then led me into becoming a programmer at a market research data collection company. And that was kind of my introduction into market research.
Oh, wonderful. What about you, Dan?
And
Or still
a little bit different trajectory, but I fell into market research. Well, not really fell into it. Worked odd jobs after high school. Wasn't really fond of any of them. Went to university, graduated, didn't really find anything appealing in just traditional lines of work where I grew up, and knew there was kind of, with an arts degree, there wasn't very much you could kind of join at that time. So I took a course at research analyst program in Barrie at Georgian College, and basically gave you all the skills from a traditional market research, primary data collection, presentation, the ability to organize data and present findings, and basically it was a portal to probably where I am now. So now in the technology sphere, basically using what I've learned and honing it in on the tech that we use.
Yeah. Thank you both for that introduction. It's an exciting space to be in, and a lot of our audience members are also interested possibly in understanding what you're seeing, what are you seeing in upcoming trends, things to look out for. But why don't you tell us a little bit about your company, QFi Solutions. What is it? Perhaps maybe you can start with the big news, because we saw your several of our members saw your news in Quarks or Green Book or wherever they get their news from about the divestiture. So please maybe explain what's this big news that was recent, and then we'll get into your origin story after that. But anyone wants to?
Yeah, thanks for that. So our story is a little long. I'll try to condense it into a very short story. Most recently, we basically relaunched QFi in early last month as a not new, but kind of a little bit rebranding and re-releasing into the industry. But where we started was around 2012. That's when the company was officially founded. At that time, I had come up with the idea, and I built out this very basic version, and partnered with my employers at the time because they used survey software. The objective of it back then was because my job at the time was kind of building out custom cool components to plug into surveys. There weren't a lot of survey platforms that had more interactive capabilities, and the objective of QFi at the time was to build a platform that really that allowed people to easily put sliders in their surveys, or video recording, interactive kind of things, and to do that in the existing platforms back then, you had to do a lot of custom coding, and then it wasn't easy to actually plug them in. So anyway, long story short, I came up with the idea of building it, designed the architecture, and started working on it. And in 2013, we kind of officially launched the first version. It was well received, but it essentially became more of an in-house tool that we used at the data collection company to kind of be a value add to the customers at the time, and that's kind of what we did for the past decade, I would say. But more recently, I was trying to figure out what my next move is in my career, and I decided, what, when I compare QFi to the other bigger platforms out there, it has the same or better capabilities depending on the platform you're comparing it to. And I decided, what, I think we have something that's powerful, that can add value to market research, and I believe we should just put it out there, open it to the public, because previously it wasn't. We had just a few select clients that would use it. And yeah, that's what brought us here today. And more recently, we did a re-release, and now we're open for business.
That's exciting. So what is your new mission and vision about?
So the original vision is still there, which was sort of building technology for research and executing it in a way that allows people to do it quickly, which improves efficiency, gets projects done faster. But I think now, with tech itself, most platforms have caught up, like they can do all these different interactive stuff. So, the focus now is on quality of data, and also looking at how to supplement the data and implement automation for helping you turn that data into actionable insights. And on top of that, just making sure that the data you're collecting is of a higher quality, and keeping respondents engaged. And so those are kind of our general driving forces behind the platform, making sure that we can offer these capabilities or things to our users and clients.
And do you have anything to add?
As far as Rafa discussed, yeah, on the technological side, really about helping research get done efficiently. I talk about a little bit about sort of like the value that it provides, like a research team, and what we could provide for support. And so both a lot of it stems from like an empathetic feeling towards customers and clients, whereas some of the competitors are really aggressive with cross-selling, upselling, things that they really don't need, whereas QFi is really honed in on sort of the full gamut of market research. It's what you get. We're very upfront with what you get with QFi, and the team is very much a helpful team. So I was really excited to join after I heard sort of the conversations that they were having.
So who would you say are your competitors and collaborators? Perhaps first start with competitors.
Yeah, good question. I mean, putting us on the spot, but I think in general, like if I think about competitors, I think about capabilities, and sort of seeing where we align compared to other platforms. And I would say platforms like Qualtrics, Decipher, which is Forsta, those are the kind of platforms that we would probably compare with in terms of capabilities. Also Voxco as well. I've spoken to people that have used those platforms and asked, just tell me your honest opinion, because they've used QFi as well. Where like is QFi better or worse than the different platforms that I mentioned that they've used? And normally the response isn't that it's better or worse compared to these different platforms. It's just that we do certain things better, and maybe that platform that we're comparing with at that time might have some other better capabilities than us. So it's kind of like on par, but depend on the use case. QFi does come out better a lot of times, especially for advanced market research. One example, somebody had told me is when they compared building quotas. For example, setting up very complex quotas, you have a lot of join statements, right? Like if they're male and from Ontario, and let's say you have 10 other conditions like that you need to condense into one quota check. That's something that's hard to do in some of these other platforms, where in QFi it's just click, and you could even just type it out quickly. If the project is live, you could just update that quota. So there are a lot of nuances, like little things that make us a lot better, especially for market research projects, because we were built essentially for the market research industry. The company that we used to be part of, they have thousands of clients or thousands of projects annually, and this is across a broad spectrum of client types, right? Agencies, end clients, whatever the case may be, different industries and stuff. So everybody has, as they're building their research project, they have different requirements, whether that's interactivity within the survey or custom components that they need. So for building this for decades, we've really refined it to make it easy to do these more complicated things within QFi. But that's also not to say that you can't just build a quick radio box or choiceless checkbox, text box, 10 question survey and deploy it. That's pretty easy too. But just to say that we can cover that whole spectrum of requirements.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I'm going back to a point that you mentioned earlier about as you were analyzing the competition and as you're analyzing the research landscape, data quality, and going back to the fair information practices principle. This is more about, personal data being relevant to the purposes for which it's being used and to the extent necessary for those purposes, and how accurate, complete, and recent it is. So, how are you doing? How's your platform designed to make sure that these standards of data quality are met, or that you're
Yes, I think there are two things in there. One being data compliance, and the other being survey data quality. On the compliance front, Q5 follows the strict GDPR requirements. We have controls within the survey as you're building it. You can flag things that are okay. This text box may collect PII, and then you have controls within the system as well to say, this user is allowed to view, download, delete, update PII data within the survey, and things like that. Or you can restrict which users are allowed to see. Because these days, with remote work and stuff, they're research companies or agencies that have employees all over the world, and sometimes you need to be strict with where that data is viewable. So Q5 has controls for that kind of stuff, for sure. Now on the respondent data side of things, we have checks that you can use for like recapture and stuff like that to automatically filter out bots. You can add that anywhere in the survey. We are also going to be, and this is kind of like letting out a little bit of a secret, but we're going to be releasing kind of an AI automation within the survey to sort of help check data quality as the respondent is taking the survey. We'll be able to flag that, and you'll be able to even in real time let the AI prompt the respondent to provide more accurate data for the questions that they're answering. Yeah.
So are there any inspiration stories that you're drawing from, maybe from companies that have existed before in the space, or other things that people that are doing this faster, or were doing all this previously, or even differently, companies that you're seeing in this space?
There's one, like, I mean, it's a big question, because there, in my role, there's so many different people or companies that I can pull inspiration from. But whenever someone asks me that question, it always goes back to one thing. And I wish I remembered the professor's name. This was a professor in college. And it stuck with me since then. It's basically, he said, and like I said, I did programming in college. And the one thing that he said was that we are problem solvers. Programmers are problem solvers. We create solutions for problems, and that's always stuck with me, and it's always been kind of my driving force with almost everything I do, which lends perfectly to what we're trying to do, because we're trying to solve problems for the industry in general, whether it is building new features that people need, or making the processes more efficient and fast. So that, I would say, problem solving, that whole concept is the driving force behind what we do.
Yeah, and I would just add to that, like inspirational. I wouldn't say a specific company. I would say like a segment within the industry. So what I found was like curiosity is always a big driver. An individual researcher, you can talk to them about what they're researching, they light up, their brain weight. You could see them just lighting up. And a lot of the small to mid-sized agencies that sell research, I find after discussing with them, either they know a domain, like they understand that product area really well, they can discuss it at length. Also, they're more generalists, and that's what I find myself, kind of jack of all trades, master of some. And that's where I find there's some fit there with Q5, because we do almost anything, and they can really utilize us.
Yeah, just to add to that too, from dealing with clients in different industries, with different type of research requirements, I find that's a very exciting part of the job. because you speak with so many different people that have so many different problems that they're trying to solve, and it really expands your mind in terms of like learning all these things, because not a lot, but well, maybe a lot of times we're speaking with clients that have very unique needs, and it really helps your mind to kind of evolve. Now you need to learn a little bit more about what they do to be able to provide that solution for them. So that for me is it's exciting, because I am always learning, and that's an important part.
Yeah, that's great to hear about all this and all these traits and characteristics that are really driving success in industry today. I mean, we're seeing every year about we're reading and seeing about this, about 1,300 platforms emerging every year, and then only 10% of them or so surviving. So the fact that you've been around for a while, even if in stealth mode, but now you're seeing this, I'm curious to see what do you think is going to help you ahead in the coming years, at least for what you're seeing based on the future.
I think the main thing these days is, it's like you've seen in Silicon Valley and a lot of tech companies right now, there's a ton of layoffs. That's because, like, initially when they get a lot of funding, and then they hire all these people, but then it's hard, I think anyway, if you hire a ton of people to try to get them to efficiently work together and streamline things properly. Like, everybody's going to be busy visually, but are they really busy? So you have these big companies with a lot of staff trying to do these things. But the thing with QFi, and I think that's our advantage, is that we've always been a lean, kind of agile company. Our architecture lends to that, because with QFi, building things, like, let's say a client has a request, a lot of times it's very quick to execute, and I find that that's probably one of our advantages in this industry, or at least in the software space, is that we could probably move way faster than most of the other platforms out there. We've had clients come to us that are from other big platforms because they couldn't execute what they wanted on those platforms. So just the agility of our software and our team, I think, is a huge advantage for us, in at least looking forward into the future.
Yeah. It'd be interesting to see how this evolves. We know that even in technology, even in LLMs, there's the market share is always dominated by 5 big players. Still, it's always a struggle for the smaller ones. But this agility is something that users do value. So it's exciting to see how you're leveraging that or tapping into that for the future. Sure. But this wants me to understand a bit about your products, and I'm sure a lot of our users would also like to understand a little more about. Well, more generally, do you think surveys are still a useful way? I mean, a useful way to gather public opinion and consumer insights? And I mean, I'm sure you would say you do, but tell us a little bit about from the analysis versus analytics perspective. How are you seeing? How long do you think this is going to be useful? A useful way to gather research.
Yeah, I still think it's relevant, mainly because, like, we really, surveys in general is getting to learn what people feel or think, because we don't know, right? It's basically a learning thing that you execute to get all this data to find some kind of needle in that haystack. I think it still exists, but I don't know if the long form surveys, these like 20 pages, 50 pages type of surveys, are going to be around, because like like my generation and the younger generation, I doubt wants to sit at a computer for 20 minutes or on the phone 20 minutes just answering questions, right? So I feel surveys in general will still be here, but we just have to find more creative and more better ways to keep people engaged, and that doesn't necessarily mean building cool flashy things within the survey. It could just mean the way you reward them. I mean, gamification is something that came up years ago, but no, I don't think anybody really executed it well. But I think there's still a possibility there to keep people engaged, to do surveys. And and I think the evolution now is it's probably going to be more collecting bits and pieces of data from different things that people do, whether it's the apps they use, the places they go, and using, maybe even AI to kind of automate that data aggregation and producing trends or just insights from those different things. We have a thing that we've been playing around with that's more VR related. I don't want to get into too much details about it, but I feel like research, like survey research in general, is going to move more into the realm of like Web 3.0 with VR and AR and leveraging AI to kind of, because when you have so many different tech things that you're pulling data from, it's hard to really do that in a manual way. So I think surveys will be there, but they will evolve and take advantage of the different technology things that are available. It's just about executing it well and having automation in place to put that together to make sure the data actually makes sense when it comes back to you.
And you mentioned incentive management. Is there something uniquely different you're doing with how you're managing and dealing out incentives for or the opportunities that people can use in your platform?
I think we're not doing anything necessarily different in incentive management at the moment. I would say we're just maybe making it more efficient with our qual integration. Like setting a project up or an activity up for community members. You can then customize kind of like the points available and what those points are worth in dollar value. But it's very quick and easy to do. You set it up and you don't have to worry about it again once you manage your budget, but that's about it. And I don't know if there's much innovation that can be done more in that specific thing. Maybe just in the way you award them, because everybody there's so many systems now that you can plug into that have a ton of different whether it's gift cards or even cryptocurrency, things like that.
So you mentioned the integration of qual and quantitative tools in your platform. How are you managing this in your platform and making it easier for either clients as well as users?
Yeah. So our QFi has always been a quant platform since we started, but we did work with clients in the past building out communities, like custom communities mostly. And as I was talking to Dan, a few months ago as we were planning all this stuff out, and showing him some of our capabilities in terms of the qual realm, I think he was like blown away with those capabilities that we had in like 2013, 2014, because those are the kind of things that some of the community platforms these days are releasing. So we're trying to just step it up a little bit and in some ways changing how communities are being executed. So essentially with our integration right now, we have essentially our community is kind of a module within the main QFi platform. So you don't have to log into a different system. It's all interconnected. If you build a survey for just a regular survey in QFi, but you also have a community group, you could then just send that to your community as well with a couple clicks. You don't have to do a separate setup and like I said before, our objective is making things simpler, like just more streamlined, to improve efficiency, which hopefully will save our customers on their cost and time to execute these projects.
Right. And just to add, the moment, like when I first came on, showing like the different tools that were used, because of the typical client was very in need of something customized. So it lent itself to creating a question type or augmented shopping cart question or a Tinder swipe question, yes or no, and then like a full community, as he noted. Like there's ones 10 years ago, and that, or 15 rather, and he basically, all of that sort of creative energy that comes from those individual shops or consultants is now sort of streamlining its way into QFi. and just making it, as he noted, more streamlined, more efficient, so that more people can take advantage of some of those awesome tools.
So I'm seeing there is a case for you for branded products versus Google Forms. How and you probably have users, but you also probably have new potential users. Where are you? How are you trying to convince non-users about the benefits of using this versus, say, Google Forms?
Yeah. Well, I mean, so that's not necessarily a good comparison, because like Google Forms, for the most part, like it's list questions and open ends and text box and things, which you can do in QFi easily, obviously. But our main, I would say, attraction or value is the ability to do all of that, plus a lot more advanced things in a more easy way, like a more efficient way. So yeah, that's how I would kind of describe it.
And I guess that was more to ask to understand where your energy is going to be now. You have these core users. Are you going to focus on non-users, potential users, or more growing the same users? Because this is something that always comes up for any business in terms of where should they focus their energies.
I think right now it's creating awareness that we exist, because we've been in stealth mode for so long that most people don't know QFi. But I'm sure a lot of people have seen QFi in action but didn't know it was QFi, because we've done so many surveys for so many clients, like obviously not directly, but through other client, like users of the platform. So at the moment, it's really to let people know that we're here, we're open for business, and but we want to also be a little bit more picky in terms of like the type of clients that we want to bring in, because as a company that's evolving, we want to work with companies that are also very focused on how to better utilize technology, people that are innovating themselves. But yeah, otherwise, right now, it's mainly just getting the word out there that we exist.
Awesome. So what has been your favorite research product or dream research product, or something that maybe you have it, or maybe it's in the works?
Research product in terms of features, or like a product itself?
Yeah, features and benefits, or any other values that you think are going to be of. I mean, there's functional aspects, the utility, and then there's also the values connected to it. So
I can answer that.
Yeah, go for it.
Well, mine personally I'm always drawn to qual and some of the advances in qual, whether it's automation and AI generated questions, or the analysis that's done, that's allowing qual to get front and center again. It's transitioning from in-person focus groups, then it was online focus groups, and now it's letting sort of generative AI analyze information from the focus groups and from the open ends and from the qualitative information. So that's exciting to me. So building that within QFi is really cool.
Yeah, I think I would probably be down that road too. It's really the ability now to automate a lot of things, which will free up time for researchers to really focus on the output of that data and how it can influence the businesses that they're working with.
Yeah, and the businesses they're working with, that the way that you benefit businesses that you're working with is by being able to solve the problem that's most urgent to them, and what they've hired you for is what several of my students have been studying. And we've been talking a lot about industry problems, and you've mentioned a few. You talked about data quality. We talked about big changes in paces of technology, but one thing that we're seeing directly, immediately, and maybe you alluded to this before, is lack of perhaps skilled talent in these industries, as things are moving so fast and quickly. We do ourselves here an annual skills study to assess the state of skills need for success and survey various employers across the industry. And this offers useful input to educational institutions and job seekers and anybody else interested, even industry leaders, to understand what do people look for in their colleagues, what do people want more from the new graduates they hire, or even other types of job seekers, and across whether they're clients, whether they're public sector, whether there's charities or anybody else that uses research in any way. So what do you think? And we found something more, the top skill needed was data preparation and management and handling, and then followed by problem scoping, research design, and quantitative research methods, which I think wouldn't be a surprise to you. But what are your thoughts, and what are some of these skills that have helped you to your current place? I think Dan also mentioned something about data curiosity before, or curiosity in general. But what are you seeing as the skills that helped you today, and skills that have helped your colleagues as well? And do these align with any of what I mentioned?
Well, for me, it's always been on the tech side, right? I've always kind of stayed up to date, and I think that's important regardless of what industry or position you're in, is really making sure that you're up to date with what's going on with that specific area that you're in. Apart from that, it's just being passionate about that thing that you're doing, that job, that position that you're in, and also kind of planning out your future, looking at what and for me, I would talk about the tech, seeing what's coming out and how you can apply that to what you're doing. But in general, like, just having an open mind and not kind of falling into too much of a very rigid structure, especially with the way tech is evolving now, and AI kind of getting embedded in literally everything. You need to be very open to how that's going to impact your role. And I'm finding more and more that AI can do a lot of things now that you do in school, like you'll learn in school, but then when you come into real world, you're not doing so much of it anymore, whether that's from tech that existed or now AI. So one good example would be like getting really good at prompt engineering, like building a good prompt to do whatever that task is, whether it's to analyze some data, clean a data set, and remove unwanted data from there. You can do that easily with AI. You just need to create a good prompt that can execute it. So yeah, that's kind of what I think.
Yeah. Mine's less technical, but more driven towards, like I mentioned earlier, curiosity at the core, but more generalist in terms of understanding methodologies. Whereas even when I was in a research program, yet you were excellent in one. You're usually excellent in one, whether it's data analysis, or maybe you're on the qual side, maybe you're in the consultant side / like business development side. And now with tools that make it easy to do either research and analyzing data, you can be more of a generalist. So I would suggest kind of learning primary research, whether it's surveys, focus groups, IDI, those sorts of things. I would expect to know all of them, and that way you can utilize the tools like ours to make it happen.
And speaking of surveys, what makes a good survey researcher specifically?
For me, I would say someone that likes to sit down for a long period of time and freak out over every question and go over it 100,000 times. No, I mean, someone who generally likes to understand the opinion of others. That's sort of a core. I think if you don't have that, I don't think you're going to spend a lot of time writing a good questionnaire that kind of pulls the right data.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this brings us to collaboration. I think what you're all hinting at as well, and even in the previous discussions that we had. So, coupled with these trends that we discussed, what other techniques or technologies are you seeing that is helping this problem of not enough talent for good jobs in this space? especially as you're moving into more AI-enabled, AI-augmented work, and we have to learn how to collaborate with people, but also with technologies and with both. So what techniques or technologies are you seeing that could help?
Right now, there's not a lot to really attract, I think, talent to the industry necessarily. I think there has to be maybe more incentive, whether because the newer generations, in my opinion anyway, they get bored really quick, and there's not a lot of people that will sit at a computer looking at data tables all day. I think that, but there are people that can see little needle in a haystack kind of things when they do look at data. So there has to be some way of making that job more fun. I think.
Yeah, and along the same lines is sort of the quote sexiness of market research. They would, I think people like to be the most knowledgeable at something, what they bring to the table, and I think market research has to lean into that as being sort of the domain understander, like whether they know the product better than everybody, they know where it's going, and they have the tools to become even more knowledgeable.
But in general, for trends, I think automation is probably going to be a big one, because now because you can easily do automation now. A lot of companies, well, the smart ones anyway, are going to be implementing a lot of this, which means that companies that are not taking advantage of that could tend to lag behind, or end up having to spend more on getting projects executed, compared to the ones that are taking advantage of that. But also, I think companies need to be careful about that as well. There are I don't want to say correct, but there are good ways and bad ways to implementing this stuff, and it could really hurt if it's not implemented the right way.
That is true. Well, that helps, and that helps me to talk a little bit about my career fair, which is one of the tools and techniques that we try to set up to help match talent with curious employers and exciting employers, and those with new upcoming businesses or those who've existed for a long time as well, bridging that gap between legacy and new upstarts, and also bridging that gap, most importantly, bridging the gap for talent, because talent is very diverse, very disparate, and they need to find that right balance of specialist skills and generalist skills based on where the need is for them. And so how do you see and big thank you for joining our career fair as well, and April. Super happy to have you back. What tell us about your talent needs. How are you seeing it change, or how is this going to change now that you relaunched and now you've shared a little bit about your 3 to 5 year plan? How is your talent need changing, or how's it going?
So I think as a young, it's not young, I guess we're not that young, but as a company that's kind of re-emerging, it means that in the near future we'll be looking for, especially marketing, because we want to get our brand out there, marketing, maybe more sales for making more contacts, but in general also growing on the tech side in Canada, specifically in AI, and more, and I think maybe more on the research side as well, getting really good research analyst team going, essentially, because I'm very versed in a lot of research techniques, but I'm not a specialist necessarily. So it'd be good to really get some a research team, essentially, helping to guide some of the more analytics side of the business.
Right. And from my perspective also, and I agree, is that that in that vein of being a generalist it's helpful for like a client relationship perspective, because you're gonna come across like questions that any part of our system can conduct. So you don't necessarily have to be the world's greatest researcher, but you have an understanding to support them and help them, get their work done. So for me, it's like a generalist researcher, but outgoing, supportive, helpful, and cares about the client. I think those are probably one of the top qualities that we're looking for me, anyways.
That's exciting, and that gives us a fair idea of the type of people you want to meet and possibly hire in the current or the future from the career fair on April 26th. So I hope all the job seekers are listening. They're in the audience. And going to a little bit on the tips side or on the advice side, what's your top tip for differentiating in the marketplace, whether it's to your fellow colleagues or whether it's to people that are moving into new jobs?
I think just being curious, like being open to learning how to help other people. I think in careers in general, sometimes people kind of get caught up in like that rat race, getting your job done, moving up. But I feel like what's more valuable and what's seen as being a good characteristic to have is really just being helpful to your colleagues and the people you work with in general, because that helps them, and who knows, maybe they'll help you one day too.
Yeah, and whereas a lot of this industry is remote, I think it's harder to build that personal relationship with your coworkers or networking all the time where it used to be. I think it's going a couple steps ahead, being self-aware enough to, or self sort of motivated to get out and do some networking. But once you get into the role, as Raf said, building that inner network and helping and supportive goes farther to build. Even if you're remote, you can still build that sort of connection with them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And you talk about remote. Can you say a little bit about our office as well? I think you mentioned you completely remote, or did you emphasize that? Just it's helps. It seems the benefit nowadays as well. So if you can, if it's something you can.
Yeah, we're mainly remote. We do have an address, and we can set up meetings and stuff in person at our office there if we need to. But just to keep things agile, like I said, we are remote. People seem to prefer that right now, and I'm fine with it because I live, way out in the boonies here. So I do prefer that as well. And just in general, with our kind of culture, I would say, is that we're not kind of a strict 9 to 5 kind of company. I've always loved, like even in my previous role, just the flexibility, being able to do what I need to do, and also having family time and personal time. And as long as the job gets done, like, I don't care if you're coming in at 12 noon to start your day. But as long as you're taking care of your responsibilities and things like that, I think that's probably something that a lot of companies are missing, because they're having this strict 9 to 5 kind of thing. Yeah.
It's amazing. Well, thank you for that. I think that wraps up our discussion section, and we do have we have a few minutes for questions from the community, and I already see some in the chat as well. Before that, I just want to share the poll on stage. I mean, we asked what people were most excited about learning in this webinar, and trends and techniques were what people were most excited about. So I hope people got some. Got what they wanted in terms of trends and techniques, and you're always welcome to follow us for more information on that and follow-ups. Community. So Hamza, and he's presented and participated before as well here. Do you think AI will decrease the cost of conducting qual? That's his question. And he's a researcher, works in Ottawa, has this question. He's saying sometimes the cost qual is prohibitively expensive.
Yeah. I think definitely there is that possibility. Well, Actually, yeah, I'm just gonna state yes, it will because because AI now is able to really process your data much faster. Like we're working on something that maybe I shouldn't say that will do real time kind of qual analysis of data as these interactions are happening. So at the end of the day, once your project is done, your data is kind of already ready as well. So, right, you're not spending days going through and cleaning data and then building reports. It's cleaned. You can go double check it if you want to, and then you click a button and the AI detects kind of what this the context of the research and understands all the questions and all that kind of stuff, so that the output is reflective of that context as well. And then you go from days of work to maybe an hour less. So definitely because it's saving you time, that will translate into saving on cost, and hopefully that allows researchers to kind of maybe spend more time with the results and can maybe give their clients more valuable insights that way.
Yeah, and I would just add the cost is obviously going to come down, and it has with the proliferation of sort of tools like ours. But there's always going to be like the experts, I think, that take advantage of all these things. Whereas like you still, like, if the cost is low with somebody and you go ahead with it, people on this call will probably understand how that's blown up in their face. And so I think be careful of just everybody being able to do something, and there's still the sort of the leading figures and experts in this field.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Oh, we have a question from Maharshi Joshi. What are the other methods or means for qualitative surveys except open-ended questions? I think it's actually really good on this.
That's a good one. Yeah, so just within QFI, I mean, there's lots, right? Within QFI, you can do, and I can speak to QFI. I can't really speak to the other platforms much, but just in general, for other methods, there are like online focus groups. So even like this kind of a conversation, having with a bunch of panelists or members of something, there is so just to narrow in on that one a little bit. It'll basically, how that works is like it's a focus group like you would normally have, except it's on video, all the conversations being transcribed, and then that goes down to the AI level that then analyzes all of that. Then there's things like online polls. So once you have your community, you can do quick polls, but that's more of a thing, as I guess. The other thing that we have is like an ad testing feature. So if you have a community of users, let's say you have a digital product or an app or a package, like your company makes coffee and they're doing a new package design, you can pull that into the QFI community and then have your members look at it and then click on areas that they like and don't like, and then provide comments on that. And then the output for that, in addition to the open ends that you would get from the comments, is actually like a heat map showing where people really focused in on and what they liked and didn't like. And that helps you then now go and refine your package design to really appeal to the customers that you're looking for. Apart from that, there is like video open ends as well. So instead of typing up the open ends, panelists can just record a video of themselves. Dan, what am I missing? Anything?
My favorite, diaries.
Yeah,
I'm a diary junkie.
yes. The diary is basically, you would set up a project, whether it's customers going to the store and buying a specific product, or just generally going to the store and taking a picture of the stuff they bought. Maybe you're trying to see some kind of trend within grocery shopping, for example. So each day they would go, or not each day, but whenever they go to the grocery store, they put a diary entry, take a picture of the stuff they bought, give a little bit of description about it, and that's the task. And then at the end of it, you have all these pictures, and then you can have even AI sort of scan through those images and kind of detecting the things that are like that you're always getting, and then aggregate that across n number of respondents that you have, and maybe look for trends in there. So there's a lot that can be done with qual, and that's one of the things that QFi is trying to bring out there, is that, you know, it's not just open ends and discussion boards. There's a ton of other capabilities.
Okay. Thank you for that. And there's a bigger question, but I think I'll just show the smaller questions, the same person, but I guess we can spend a little less time. Is consented surveillance during a survey allowed for online short length surveys?
Allowed during online short length surveys.
Consented surveillance during a survey, like for clicks and scrolls and those sorts of things, like the behavioral, like capturing the behavioral information.
That's possible, but that's not something that we do. If that's what the question means, I mean, it depends on what surveillance means. In this sense, I could be just actually seeing the person's screen, not their screen, but the actual survey interface as they're taking it and seeing what they're doing. That's not something that we do, but it's possible. And obviously, you would need consent for that. But yeah, I think it's allowed as long as it's clear at the beginning of the survey to let them know, okay, you know, we want to be able to track your movement in the survey. Or even if it's like a user testing situation where somebody's testing an app or something like that, like you need to get their consent to record their movement and what they're doing.
And the key here is consent. So yeah, thank you for that. And we have one more question here. Are modern technological tools adaptive to traditional research models used to date? And then what emerging technology do you believe holds the biggest promise for revolutionizing research in the next decade? And why? Okay, that's a big loaded question, but I'm sure you.
Yeah, it's a big one, but it's a good question. Modern technology like that. Yeah, I think for the first part, yes, modern technology tools are. It depends on what kind of traditional, but I mean, in general, most platforms right now, you can just do the traditional stuff, right? Like your regular surveys. What emerging technology do you believe holds the most promise? I would say, like everybody, and the buzzword that's going right now would be AI. But I think more, you know, looking a little bit more beyond, but not so far in the future, is really integration with AI and IoT, and then also supplementing with survey data. I think there's really something to say about connecting different data points or different things that collect data from people. Obviously, it comes back to consent. Like you could have a panel that people have consented to, that they allow you to track what you're doing on your Alexa, for example, right? Like when you're shopping with Alexa and being able to collect that data. Maybe it's just your shopping data, and then aggregating that with your purchases at the grocery store and some survey data, and then pulling all of that together. And I mean, coming back to that AI point, is that AI can actually make sense of that data. It's not so easy for us humans sometimes to put all of that into context, but you can get an AI model to do it.
All right, wonderful. That wraps up our community Q&A session. Well, thank you to Rin, Marshi, Hamza, Justin Muzdalfa, the others who would not get a chance to ask their questions, but I'm sure we'll have longer follow-ups. So I hope everyone found this session extremely useful and insightful, and an exciting opportunity to uncover new insights about another company and the industry and trends and from perspectives from our guests. And big thank you to Raphael and Dan for being on this and sharing their expert insights. I'd like to now just highlight that if you would like to learn more and meet with QFi, do please remember to sign up for our career fair happening on April 26th. And it's virtual, and there's also a case competition. There's competing teams, and one of them or two of them will be judges as well, alongside other employers, and it's a great way for talent to meet with the industry's employers. So big thank you again, and thank you everyone for tuning in. This wouldn't be possible without you, and I'm very excited for our future sessions. Hope everyone has a wonderful afternoon and a great Friday and a beautiful weekend as we now wrap up and go to move on to wrap up the week with other things. I'm personally heading out to the Royal Ontario Museum, who's also going to be participating in our career fair. So I'm excited to share more updates. If you follow us and follow any of the resources in the sidebar, you'll be able to connect with our guests today, as well as follow our newsletter and our updates on LinkedIn and social media. Thank you, everyone. Have a great Friday.
Thanks for having us.